If I was a rich man. Live Sunday, September 19th.
I have to say, that might be actually my favorite play, now that I think about it.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen. Oh, Fiddler. Yeah, I saw it back in the day.
Fiddler? That's
Yeah.
so good. It's a good message.
I think my favorite was Harry Potter on Broadway, personally, which
Oh,
was incredible,
wow.
even though it was very long. But anyway, we'll wait. We could just bullshit for a little bit.
And
Till,
those are our political takes for today.
yes.
Those are important takes. We're all here for a special reason. So you guys should extra hit the like button and extra share the stream, because there is a birthday boy in the house. Jordan's birthday's tomorrow.
Yeah, let's be accurate.
We're going to tell them. What?
My birthday's tomorrow, but I'm probably not going to go live tomorrow, so I figured I'd milk it today.
No, yeah, that's accurate to say it's today and your birthday's tomorrow.
How could you say your birthday's today if your birthday's tomorrow?
Because I didn't say that. I said his birthday's tomorrow.
Oh,
I didn't say we're going to be live tomorrow.
Oh, I see.
I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
But the point is, we're live today in
Indeed.
celebration of a great man's 35th birthday. And there's only a very small window when Jordan's 1 year younger than me, because my birthday's in December.
And by the way, I genuinely hope, because I know we've been losing some subscribers over not being nihilistic enough. I hope nobody is triggered
by it being your birthday. Oh, by your cup. What a great cup.
I might be inhaling selloutism, but I do like this mug and I need coffee desperately. So
it's catching. You've sold out immediately.
So I was actually thinking, Jen, see, I'm torn. I'm really torn. We'll just bullshit till more people come. Colin, if you could send out the text and the email and all that. I'm very torn because there's a balance. And I was, I don't know, probably doing Sunday shows for at least a year and a half, maybe.
I'd say about 2 years.
Yeah, and it got a little tiresome. Yeah. I got a little burnt out. I mean, it was terrific for Status Coup. That is how we really raised the most money in our GoFundMe. Sundays, there's no, as far as I know, there's not a lot of channels live, so you get kind of the runway to yourself. But it's hard if you're doing shows all day Sunday. People don't realize I do need to plan for it a little bit on Saturday. So that would be getting articles together. We didn't have Colin at that point full time, so I was kind of doing a lot of the production stuff. So I stopped doing it for a while because I was getting burnt out. I mean, I've stopped doing it, period, because I was getting burnt out. But I also have this idea, Jen, and I'm saying it now so no one can steal it. Sell out Sundays.
Wow.
For a special show called Sell Out Sundays, where we sell out by having workers on, talking about strikes and union drives and exploitation, where we have people from communities on talking about their water being contaminated, fracking, all those things, where we have, vulnerable groups, whether it be indigenous, Black, brown, LGBTQ, having on to talk, basically selling out by covering things no one else is on a grand scale, not ranting and raving, of course, hence the sellout-ism. But I think it's a catchy name. It would be a lot, because to really do that, you need to really line those people up earlier in the week. Poor Colin would have to put stuff together and unfortunately work on a Sunday. He's probably listening to this right now, freaking out. And I, wouldn't be able to really focus on my fantasy football, which Sunday is fantasy football day, because I'd have to be on. But I do think it has a ring, and I think it could be interesting. Maybe we'll just skip Friday if we did Sundays. But it's just a thought in my head, retiring, getting back into the Sunday groove. But it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, Sunday shows were so good for us. They were fun. We often did them as marathons. And usually it was just Jordan. Sometimes I would join on special occasions. But they were fun and good, and they helped us as a really, really young company to raise money. But with the investigative work and the work that goes into running a company, it really does take a lot to put something like that together. So yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to figure it out.
Maybe
It's a
we'll
great
start.
idea.
Maybe we'll start once a month, and if it really pops
Yeah.
off, yeah, we'll get back in
Sure.
it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But yeah, we're coming on today, and please smash that like button, share this live stream. The more people that press like, the more people that will see this. This was really impromptu. I just texted Jen last night and said, I got to go to Long Island tomorrow, meaning today. But do you want to do a live stream in the morning? Because, hey, I'm not beyond pushing for memberships and such, exploiting my birthday. So I will be 35. I will be 35 tomorrow. If we want to go down the list, I might have some type of I don't know if it's not fractured, but my ankle is messed up.
Well, you don't know. You haven't had it x-rayed.
Yeah, my uncle's a podiatrist. He told me to get it x-rayed.
That's what I said, like, you could, because I had a hairline fracture in my own foot like years ago. You definitely got to get it x-rayed.
It's not getting better. It's not getting better. So I'm planning it. I'm trying to plan a trip to go cover some stuff, but it's also like, I mean, the best way to treat an ankle, if it's soft tissue, is like to be off it. But at the same time, I don't want to just be not covering things. If you're watching, I've been waiting to hear back from the Starbucks folks in Buffalo, because I'd like to go up there, cover the Union Drive. There's also the India Walton campaign, the socialist who has a chance to win the mayor of Buffalo. And I think that race in particular is not even just about India Walton and whether she wins or not, but like, how do progressives or socialists actually overcome the Democrats when they're trying to rig it? Because boy, if you've been paying attention to that Buffalo race, the Democratic Party has been trying to rig it after the fact. Usually they rig it during the primary, but then if they lose, then they're kind of out of luck. But in this case, the mayor, Byron Brown, 16-year mayor, very corrupt. He lost the primary to India Walton, and then basically tried, even though he missed the deadline to file a third-party run, basically a judge who has connections to one of Byron Brown's relatives, a real estate developer, granted him access to the ballot on the Buffalo party line. So Byron Brown somehow got on the ballot. Thankfully, I think this week, an appeals court overturned it. So now he's not on the ballot, but he's still trying to get on the ballot. Meanwhile, there's a lot of other shenanigans going on behind the scenes to stop this socialist from becoming mayor of Buffalo. And I think it could be a real bellwether for the rest of the country. Actual socialists, like she's actually a socialist, not like a Bernie Democratic socialist. But if she can win, but also can progressives actually play tough and organize enough to overcome the rigging efforts by the Democratic Party. So we'll see. There's some other things we want to do on the road too, but my ankle's messed up at the young age of 35. I'm more constipated than most 90-year-old grandmothers. What else do we have?
That's very true. Jordan's and I saw someone. Oh,
this
my
is the
goodness.
news. This is the news we'll be covering today, by the way.
This is the news. Look at this. Debo, the Black Panther, $50 in the super chat. I appreciate all your hard work, guys. Thank you. You are incredible. Thank you. That's really, really helpful. I saw Travers in the comments saying, well, after 35 is when all of your back pain starts. Well, Jordan has news for you about back pain.
Yeah, I've had two back surgeries pre 35. Fortunately, right now my back is okay. It's my ankle. And
well, after two back surgeries, you should mention.
Yes, after two back surgeries. But so my mind is good. That's positive. And I got a wonderful wife, a dog. Status Coup, even though right now we've hit a rough spot, but that's kind of like the cycle with Status Coup, particularly independent, like actually independent media, particularly independent media that does something radical called reporting instead of, clickbait bullshit every day. You see really big ups, particularly when we go in the field and we're on a story no one's on, major subscriber growth, membership signups. And then at times, whether YouTube's purging subscribers, which happens a lot, or now, frankly, I mean, just keep it real, we're losing subscribers who aren't getting their views 100% validated, which is a trend I've seen, Jen, even before like this year. I started seeing it like when I was at the Young Turks after Bernie dropped out, this and that people were kind of using their subscriber hood or paid membership as like a weapon. Like,
yes,
I'm unsubscribing because I don't agree with your take on this, or I'm not paying anymore. Or I'm withdrawing because like you're not ranting as much as me. And I think it's
right.
a delicate thing because number one, listen, we've been kind of in this partisan media vortex for about 30 years now. Fox really kicked it into high gear. But in general, people tend to go into their caves with their fellow travelers to hear their views fed to them. And most people don't really want, even among people that they generally agree with, to consume anything that might challenge their views. And a lot of times people react to that by saying, I'm taking my bowl and going home. And these are even good people. Like most of the people unsubscribing, I don't have a problem with them. It's just that their views have been hardened, I guess, and they feel very cynical and angry and frustrated. And if a channel like us is offering a little more nuance and not like just giving the lowest common denominator, like they're all frauds, they're all sellouts, then they almost look at us like we're sellouts and frauds. And, you know, I'm not going to lie. It sucks when you wake up and you see you're losing subscribers, but I really don't think if you have integrity as a journalist, you cannot perform your day to day based on keeping subscribers or worrying. You know, we want to, but that would just be playing to clicks, which frankly a lot of channels do, and we have to lead with our integrity. So we're just going to say what we believe, not just based on like sitting, but traveling and seeing what's going on in the country. And what we believe is pretty simple. Bottom line, we have a lot of progressives who have folded like a cheap tent in Congress. We have Bernie, who was weak during his campaign, which we said over and over. We have a lot of progressives who seem to have been seduced by this long game strategy and let's try and build relationships with the corporatists to get them over to our side. And we have a lot of progressives who maybe really truly believed when they were going in there that we're going to bring the ruckus to the Democratic Party. But once the Democratic Party took the ruckus to them, they changed their tune. So I don't know. Jen, we have this ridiculous idea that you could criticize them case by case, but not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I think it's getting lost, especially now. It's obvious that there are a lot of divides there, politically between left and right, but now so many divides on the left itself, which these days, it used to be okay that, Jordan and Jen disagreed with me on XYZ issue, and that could be okay. And it seems like everybody has just moved so far in one direction or another on very specific issues that if you dare to have a different opinion, we're literally then getting those messages saying, and this is how we know, because people will email and say, I canceled because you disagreed with me on XYZ issue. And we're accountable to our viewers. We're accountable to you guys. We're accountable, especially to our members, because that's literally where our funding comes from. And when people subscribe, when people join at statuscoup.com/join, which you should do. But when people subscribe, they subscribe for two reasons. One is because they get behind the scenes content, video diaries, access to video calls with us, etc., access to our members only Discord. But they also subscribe because they support what we do, because we're the only ones out there doing it like we do, with investigative and in-field reporting in this style. So when you normally subscribe to something or buy something, you either keep it or or not based on whether it delivers what you signed up for. And that's the thing that's changed now. It's not that, and this is, we're always open to suggestions. So I hope this isn't taken the wrong way, but it's not that we're not providing what we promised or what people signed up for. It's that now the goals have been moved. The goalposts have been moved to where you don't like me funding you or me sending that $5 a month is conditional and you agreeing with me 100% of the time. So that's a real shame to see.
I wouldn't even just say agreeing with me 100% of the time. I think it's also just like you ranting as loudly as I'm feeling, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Right. Like it wasn't enough. Yes, someone literally canceled because we only covered on the ground one march for Medicare for All. I covered in person the DC march. And this person canceled because we hadn't, and this is on Twitter, you can see it. We didn't cover 4 cities. So that
no, I think she canceled because we only covered 2 hours instead of all day.
No, this was, but they were both, actually, she mentioned both the hours and the locations in a separate tweet. So it was, and someone said, well, there are really only 2 people and as, on the ground journalists and call it, it's only Jen Jordan and Colin really. And they said, well, I thought they were bigger than that. And then they had some other reason why we were terrible and why it was good that they canceled. So it's, of course, people's personal decision if they support us or not. But
did they cancel Breaking Points and Jimmy Dore and Kyle Kalinske and Mike from the Humanist Report and Abby Martin, none of whom were on the ground for any of them? Not knocking them.
Wow, and that's the thing. Like we haven't changed as far as what we provide and the reason that we have a membership and the reason people sign up for the membership. The landscape has changed, and so this happens in business, and this definitely happens in politics. And so it's something we have to figure out. We're not going to change or compromise our values. That doesn't mean that, even Jordan and I literally on the Nina being a guest host for TYT, Jordan and I disagree with one another on that. That's okay. We have a video up with us talking about it. That's
that wasn't enough either. Somebody said, Jordan, it is a bad move. And I'm like, it's literally what I said in the video.
That's literally what Jordan said. It's not about people not agreeing with us. That's okay. I think discourse is good. I think it's healthy. The competition of ideas is a good thing when it starts from the same place of values and facts and morals. So, yeah.
Well, that's the key, Jen. And we're definitely going to get into the stories we want to cover. But honestly, people at this point, not everybody, but a growing portion of the left, it's not really about the issues point by point and whether we agree or disagree. It's about, are you 100% with me in opposition to the squad? Are you in 100% opposition with me to opposition now against Bernie? Are you in 100% opposition with me against electoral politics? Are you in 100% opposition with me against anything good being possible? And for me, I've actually never looked at politics or politicians as like our friends or whatever. I just used to look at them as a means to an end. So to me, I don't think in those terms as the squad and Bernie, they're frauds and they're cowards and they're sellouts, because I always took it for what it was in the first place. To me, the main focus should always be on you got to follow things case by case. Sometimes they're going to disappoint you and frustrate you and anger you, and you should shame them and criticize them and even protest them. I mean, we covered a protest of AOC, but I just don't believe in this throw the baby out with the bathwater and everybody's a fraud and it's all hopeless when there's nothing else beyond that. Because the people that are thinking this way, and again, not knocking you, good people, a lot of righteous anger and frustration, have no actual strategy beyond that. I mean, MPP, I mean, we've gone through this. MPP is not a
Yeah.
long-term strategy. It's a long-term strategy, not a short-term thing. We believe economic protests need to start on a community level. I think it's it would be nice if we could just do a general strike tomorrow nationwide, but I think realistically, we need to build brick by brick, community to communities, protesting specific companies and building up. Force the vote, I agreed with. Jen agreed with. It was a tactic. It's not like a political organizing strategy. Even Jimmy and those who were leading it said we're not going to get Medicare for all right now through this. So a lot of people, I understand it when you feel leaderless, when you feel like people aren't doing what they promised, you kind of can jump into that void of raging against those people and thinking and just basically saying it's all for nothing. I'm hearing this now also, and this brings us into the first topic, Jen. And by the way, smash that
before you do all that, Colin, can you to kind of continue on the frame of what happens when you dare have a different opinion than folks want you to have. Colin, if you can, this made me laugh so hard when I saw it like very early this morning. If you can pop up the picture that someone took their time to make of Jordan as a well, you guys will see. I mean,
so if you can't see it, what is that? Status poop. And I'm eating, is that an egg?
It's a baby bottle.
Oh, a baby bottle with CNN and all that. So I give that
with CNN, MSNBC, the Democratic Party, The View, and TYT.
Yes, I love eating and devouring all that corporate propaganda every day. Thank you. But
I mean, amazing.
But this is a good opener to responding to this, because we want to get into the 3.5 trillion deal. And frankly, this political article I'm reading doesn't sound good to me. It sounds like we're already progressives that have held firm so far are already preemptively finding, putting out language that, oh, well, we're going to try and hold the line and this and that. So we're going to call that bullshit out. But before we do that, not to blow up your spot, but this is a perfect opener to respond to this. Focus within. Jordan, preach incrementalism already. So, Colin, if you could put up the list of the key points in this 3.5 trillion reconciliation deal. So, universal pre-K would be in it. Free community college would be in it. Paid family leave would be in it. Child tax credit, which on its own, I think is kind of incremental, but with all these other things, I think is very good. This child tax credit could be up to $3,000 for most families, up to $5,000, depending on, what is it, the income threshold, Jen?
I'm not, we'll have to check on that.
Okay. So child tax credit, then you have expanding Medicare, dental, hearing, and vision, which is important because in the fight for actual Medicare for all, it's important to expand the actual Medicare program so that if we were to get Medicare for all, well, the Medicare program also has dental, vision, and hearing. So it is important to have that. 80% electric power by 2030, affordable housing investment. There's several other things in there like key climate proposals. I don't know if it's going to pass because they live and die by the parliamentarian, which is bullshit. But trying to make undocumented immigrants, giving them legal status, which would be huge. So Colin, put it back up to that person that said that. And I'm not fighting with you. Let me ask you a question. And we didn't put it up there, but 3.5 trillion. Let's just say 2-3 years ago. Would you be calling this incremental? Literally ask yourself, would you be calling these things incremental? Because none of these things are temporary. For example, the coronavirus relief package had the temporary, it was all temporary. Eviction moratoriums, rental relief, the child tax credit, all those things temporary. For progressives, our goal is permanent structural change, right? So would you be calling $3.5 trillion, which, by the way, is the largest social spending package in modern American history? And we don't have everything up on the screen. These are the key points, but there's other stuff in there. $3.5 trillion, which is the largest spending package for actual people. There's been larger social spending packages to bail out banks and fossil fuckers and big companies. But for actual working people, 3.5 trillion with actual things with teeth. If any YouTube hosts are going to tell you none of these things matter, then they're lying to you. Because ask Jen or others if universal pre-K would matter. Ask, frankly, Black, brown, indigenous, poor whites if free community.
I'll speak on that. This is not even common at all. But in the area where I live, there's kind of there's a literal lottery for who gets public pre-K. And of course, when you're factoring this in, you have to think about the cost of daycare for children. So in addition to it being educational, it's also a cost-saving measure. So unless the child had disabilities or met some kind of threshold, for certain things, it was then certain spots left open to a lottery system. So it was a real struggle and a real desperate situation, and people really didn't know until last minute if they were going to get in or not. And this was considered a great thing. Like, oh, thank goodness we have some public pre-K available. But the difference that it makes when pre-K is freely open and available to every single child, every single family, is so important. And on the point of the child tax credit, I believe, correct me my statistic, but I believe it's going to reduce childhood poverty by 50%. So to poo-poo this away as just incrementalism, if permanent.
Because when they said it in the Corona bill, like this cuts child poverty, for like a year before it expires. So yeah,
that's a good point. But to poo-poo that away, these things away, is really damaging and kind of gross, in my opinion.
I think it's privileged.
It is privileged, and it's hard to say that that word, because some of the very same people saying it are poor, are the very people who need this. So it's hard to say privileged, but that's really what it is.
Yeah, there's different kinds of privilege
combined with propagandistic thinking and really a sickness in this country.
Yeah, and I think, Jen, just look at it versus forced to vote. And by the way, just to be clear, because I think people have been so radicalized, by the way, in their thinking. Again, to be clear, we're not calling you bad people. We love you. But your thinking has become a little black or white based on some YouTube host feeding you a lot of nonsense. Us talking about good things in this bill does not mean we aren't also saying we need right now to take action for much more. I mean, we've been talking about a general strike for a year. We've been focusing on these worker strikes much more than anyone else. So I know it makes you a sellout to say this, but two things could be true at the same time. For the person who said this is incremental, well, then if you supported forced to vote, which I did, why wasn't that incremental?
That wasn't even like really incremental. That was like incremental.
But just think about it. Just think about it. You have tangible things in here that are not temporary. They're permanent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That could pass, frankly, because of this sellout Bernie Sanders. It's not Biden's bill. Most of the shit in here is what Bernie pushed. Actual tangible stuff, whereas forced to vote, Jimmy and everybody else even said, Jen, yeah, it's not going to pass. It's just to get people on the record. That, which I agreed with, I still think we should try to force the vote on $15 minimum wage, Medicare for all, and other things. But
Bernie's pool and the pool of what's happening now, even though a lot more needs to happen, they're more siding with Bernie on what needs to happen with Medicaid than with Nancy Pelosi. He's kind of winning this battle. That's great. Like, yell about it being incrementalism on the internet. And yes, so much more needs to be done. And I know that some of the very same people who are saying that that's incrementalism and who cares. And I know a lot of those very same people are doing good things on the ground, are taking part in mutual aid. Others simply are bitching online. But I urge people to think about those struggling families, those struggling children, that this would help right now. You know, if we want everything to be perfect overnight, how's people are, you know, that's literally going to have to be burning everything down and people are going to die. Like that's like, think about what would have to happen for things to not be incremental.
Right.
It doesn't exist. Where is your line? I don't think people know.
And Linear Bob asked a good question. Jen, are you sure there is no sunset dates built into the legislation? Well, the money is spread out over 10 years. So technically speaking, if they don't replenish the money for these programs, it could expire. So that's a good question. We'll look into that. So technically, most programs have sunset provisions, but in American history, when you put in certain, call it entitlements, I think that word is misleading, but certain social welfare benefits, it's very hard to start repealing those things. I mean, Republicans have been trying to overturn Social Security, Medicare, privatize it, whatever, for 50 years, haven't been successful. But the other thing I'll say, Jen, before we move into the actual, what I think is progressives already preemptively twisting themselves in the pretzel to say, oh, we might have to walk this back a little bit, is, you know, at the end of the day, maybe people just aren't remembering the word progressive. It has progress in it. How that has become sellout, incremental. Like the things on that bill are actual progress. And you need to think about the wider context. If this is all we were getting under President Bernie Sanders or Speaker, I don't know, AOC, where we had majorities in Congress or we had the White House, yeah, I'd probably be saying, yeah, this isn't what we signed up for. We need much more. But the reality is, and you're not getting reality from many hosts and tweeters, we do not have the White House currently. I'm sorry if that's like being a sellout, to tell you the truth. We don't have the White House. We don't even have majorities in Congress. The best progressives can do is block legislation and to make some concessions or to demand some concessions. But like that is the reality right now. Just like the reality was forced to vote was a great tactic. I supported it. It wasn't, I mean, they told you it wasn't going to get you Medicare for all right now. So do you just look at things that actually have structural change in it and say poo-poo, incremental, because it's not giving us Medicare for all tomorrow? Or do you fight for actual progress while at the same time getting involved, which we've been saying, jump into these worker strikes, support these worker strikes, support these union drives, maybe off of those union drives and those worker strikes, look at major employers in your community and say, should we have a strike? Should we try to unionize? Get together and form community groups in your community for economic protests. Start with Walmart, start with big banks, start with fast food. See, what we're describing, Jen, it's not as clicky. It's not as sexy. It's not as, you know, rage filling, but it's actually like the hard work of organizing that has to be done to eventually build up to something like a general strike. But you're not really hearing like reality type things because people are just feeding people. No, we could just rant and rave change into existence. And if we just rant and rave loud enough, we're going to make them fear us and then they'll do what we want. Well, I don't know. Look at history. Martin Luther King kind of made concessions with Lyndon B. Johnson to get the voting rights bill, civil rights bill. And he didn't go ranting and raving that Lyndon B. Johnson was Lucifer. He organized. And by the way, before Martin Luther King, there was 20, 30 years of organized. I mean, centuries really. But specifically before Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, there was a lot of organization and losses and battles that formed over decades to create the moment for Martin Luther King. So people could say what they want. I'm not feeding you incrementalism because I don't really think that bill, the 3.5 trillion bill, is enough. Frankly, I genuinely do not think we're getting Medicare for all through electoralism. I think, Jen, if Bernie was president right now, I don't think we'd have Medicare for all right away because he would still be dealing with a predominantly corporatist Congress. So he could barnstorm every state and we could support President Sanders, and we still might not get enough of these corporatist frauds.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been a king. So,
right.
Yeah.
So, you know, people can think what they want. If us offering the truth and nuance isn't good for isn't what you want to hear, that's okay. There's plenty of outlets that will just feed you nihilism.
Like nominate. I already said that. I specifically said a lot of people are activists. So that's one of the things that I find so interesting is people already have an idea of what they assume, and it doesn't matter. Like you, Jordan, saying it's a bad idea for Nina Turner to join TYT, and people yelling at you in the comments saying, Jordan, why didn't you say it's a bad idea?
No. They're pissed because I didn't call her a sellout. That's really what this comes down to.
Yeah, but
it doesn't matter what you're saying. It's if you're not jumping on this lowest common denominator, call him a sellout, Jordan. Call him be like me, or I don't know, be like Jimmy or be like other people, and just make it simple. They're sellouts, they're frauds. If you're not with us on that, then you're not with us. Then don't watch. We're not going to trade our integrity and frankly just push out what I think is really like lacking critical thinking, unnuanced, not even a lot of the things being put out aren't even accurate, factually accurate, to like join the moment. Because at the long term, I think that would hurt us long term as journalists with integrity.
Yeah.
And we have a higher bar. But I want to make a point. I'm not saying that the people who feel this way aren't doing anything. A lot of these folks went to the Medicare for All march. Some of these folks have done things with MPP. Some of these folks do kind of mutual aid in their community. So if it comes off like I'm saying you're just sitting in fetal position ranting, that's on me. I don't mean that at all. And to be clear, I know a lot of you are activists. What I'm trying to get at, and what I think Jen's trying to get at is, what I want to give you an example. I just rewatched. It's an amazing documentary. You should watch it. Fahrenheit 11/9. I watched Fahrenheit 9/11 too. But Fahrenheit 11/9 is Michael Moore's documentary. Basically, how the fuck did Trump happen? It's really amazing. He somehow weaves in Trump and everything that led to that with Flint and the water crisis. But he highlighted one, a strike that we might have forgotten about, and that's the West Virginia's teachers strike in 2018, and how that strike started out as just a few teachers, and then a bunch more from that one district joined those teachers. And then all of a sudden, all 55 counties in West Virginia joined those teachers. Every county of teachers joined. So every county was on strike. By the way, in West Virginia, it's actually illegal to strike and stop the work week. So the attorney general and the governor were threatening to throw these teachers in jail. And guess what? The West Virginia governor, they caved and gave in to the demands of the teachers, but wouldn't give the same deal to the bus drivers and, school lunch people. So the teachers continued striking so that their bus drivers and school cafeteria people got the same deal. And guess what? They won. And you want to know what? It's not easy. That might have seemed like, oh, it just organically happened, but there's a lot of bricks that need to be laid for even that to happen. But our point is, what my point is, to be clear, is I don't care if you criticize the squad. I don't think Jen does either. You don't have to like the squad, Bernie. You don't even have to vote as a Democrat. We're not telling you how to vote. We're talking about mentality here. What do we do beyond ranting and raving and calling everybody frauds and sellouts? Because to me, that's mostly what I'm seeing on the internet with no strategy beyond that. So if you're actually doing things in your community, awesome. We need to do more of that. Because to me, Chen, something that's frustrated me, progressive movement and MPP started out this way, saying this was key to MPP, would be the labor movement and reviving the labor movement. But right now, the labor movement, I want to overstate it, is on fire. Nabisco, by the way, I interviewed a Nabisco worker 2 weeks ago. After striking, they just got a new contract. I spoke with a few workers. I don't think it's enough, to be honest with you, but it's to them. They made their decision, and we have to respect it, to agree to the new contract where they maintain their medical benefits, maintain their pay. They're getting a $5,000 bonus. They didn't really get Nabisco on the record in terms of paying them overtime for weekend work, but they got some things. And I'm not going to sit here and bash the workers for agreeing to it. But the point is, that is action. That's going beyond just like, let's rage against the Democratic Party machine, which you're happy to. I mean, you're free to do that. So that's all we're really saying. Like, we are not going to lie to you and say, hey, we're going to get Medicare for all and a Green New Deal and a $25 minimum wage. I think 15 at this point is a joke, by just canceling everybody and fighting amongst each other on the left. I think that's what I've been trying to say, Jen. Maybe people don't realize that.
Yeah, and I think sometimes maybe we've said things inartfully, or sometimes maybe we haven't made clear that we're not speaking of, the entire movement or all progressives. So, yeah, we don't ever mean to talk down to anyone, or really our issue only comes when people are dishonest or are doing purposeful harm or whatever. So yeah, just to be very clear about that. We know so many people are doing incredibly important work.
Absolutely. And I'll say with that, Jen, it goes both ways. So like, I'm totally fine. Like I responded to a few comments under the Nina Turner video because people were like a little bothered that I used the word simpletons, and they thought I was talking about just people who disagree with us, which I wasn't. I was talking about, I think it's kind of a simpleton mindset to just declare everybody sellouts and frauds and cowards and cancel everybody. To me, that's kind of simpleton, but that's not the same thing as you're a simpleton if you don't agree with me on something. But bottom line, yeah, I mean, I think I might have said things inartfully or too much of a blanket thing where people took it as like I'm condescending to you. That's not the goal at all. So that's on me. I apologize. But the point is, it goes both ways. Progressives, if you're not willing to have your thoughts and views challenged, then you're no better than the right wing. I mean, that's the truth. If you're not willing to consume things that don't validate your pre-existing conditions 1000%. I shouldn't even say the right wing because it goes for MSNBC viewers too. I mean, MSNBC viewers might go in mass if Rachel Maddow started talking against Nancy Pelosi. And like, Rachel, what's happening to you? Like, if you're not willing as a news consumer to consume things that aren't just feeding you your cognitive thoughts or aren't feeding you what you already emotionally feel, well, you're not really looking for news anymore. You're just looking for a digital pep rally, which is cool. I mean, if that's what you want, there's plenty of channels that are going to be in lockstep with you on every single thing. But I don't really think that's good for like anything. I don't think it's good to just preach to the choir. I even think with our audience that comes to us and agrees with us on most, I like it, frankly, when they disagree with us on some things. My point is the progressive movement.
Like I'll use an example of that. I have no problem with bringing in new ideas, with having my mind changed. For example, when we're talking about, and Jordan and I in a friendly way debating whether it's a good thing, so-called, or an okay thing, I guess is a better way to phrase it, for Nina Turner to be a guest host on TYT. And so I went through my own Twitter thread, and one of my points was the very same people who have no issue with progressives going on Tucker Carlson are having a huge issue with Nina Turner going on at TYT. And I also said the folks who advocate for progressives to go on Tucker and Fox News and stuff say that it's because you can, kind of get people over to your side. You can talk sense to them. And I agree with that. I'm not saying I'm necessarily against that, depending on how it's done, I'll say. So my mind just went in a whirl. What was I getting at? Oh, how my mind was changed. So my my thinking was, well, this is clearly hypocrisy. Why would it be okay to go on Tucker Carlson and not be okay to go on the TYT's main show? But people pointed out, well, in the case of Nina, even though she's going to be a guest host, she's most likely going to be paid. When someone like these folks we're talking about go on Tucker, they're not paid. And I said, oh, that's a great point. That's a good point. I can see that. So it's okay to have your mind change and to bring in new kind of information and adjust. And I think that's healthy. That's how we all do better.
Yeah. So we're going to finally get to the first topic, but also part of why, I'm not going to lie, Jen, part of why we did this today is we got to start really ratcheting up our paid membership. We're, Colin, if you have the graphic, we're at 1,829, I believe. So bottom line, we need you to afford in the field reporting. We got a lot of trips we want to take. We're doing it as safely as we can. You know, there's certain places at the moment I don't want to go, or Jen doesn't want to go because COVID is through the roof. We're not trying to get through. We're not trying to get into a discussion on COVID and vaccines or whatever. You know where we stand. But there are other places where we're trying to get out there. But the truth is, we've had a lot of bills. We're always transparent. We just paid our accountant money, our bookkeeper money. There was a lot of costs related to the Flint water story we just broke a couple months ago. The recent reporting trips we've taken, it's all cost a lot of money, and we don't have any fat cats or big bankers or fossil fuckers or military industrial complex to replenish our coffers. So if you have it within your means, sign up, statuscoup.com/join. We got to get back to 1,900 first and then try and get to 2,000. But we're going to very, very aggressively be pushing membership now. We're going to be launching our new website, hopefully this week. So with all those things, please sign up. $5 a month, statuscoup.com/join. We might do our second members call. We're doing 2 this month towards the end of the month. So it's already getting to the end of the month. So you get to join us on the members call and all those good things.
And you know why you should join? Colin, if you have that special image that I told you to make, pop that up.
Yes.
Adorable, Colin. Good job. This is the first time that I've seen this. I had texted Colin in the background and said, make a goofy happy birthday, Jordan picture. So that's why you guys should join in honor of Jordan's 35th birthday, which is tomorrow, the 20th. StatusCoup.com/join. It's just $5 a month. You'll get access to our members only Discord chat, which is a lot of fun. It's pretty active. Lots of different topics to talk about. Access to our Ask Me Anything member calls, which are Zoom calls. Also a ton of fun. We reveal way too much info. We laugh, we cry. You also get access to video diaries and behind the scenes pictures and videos and lots of stuff. So come on, guys, do it for the birthday. StatusCoup.com/join.
And I'm a tad bit older version of 35. So life is short. You know, while I'm still kicking, please join us. StatusCoup.com/join.
Oh my God. That's a real, while I'm still kicking.
StatusCoup.com/join. StatusCoup.com/join. So I want to get to this Politico article because
I thought you had to go.
I do, but
okay.
we haven't done anything. So headline: Liberals get ready to grab wheel of Democratic agenda. Just a headline. I don't know. Makes me suspicious. I'm going to read the whole thing, but I'm starting to see what they call preemptive surrender. I don't like it. This is on the 3.5 trillion reconciliation deal, which we already put up what's in there, but a lot of good things, frankly, not incremental things. Progressives have waited for their turn to exert control over the Democratic agenda. Now it's here, and liberal leaders are weighing just how far to go. Oh, boy. Speaker Pelosi's left flank is quietly mulling whether to mobilize its roughly 100-member bloc to tank the centrist-crafted Senate infrastructure bill when it reaches the House floor within a week, unless they're assured that a mammoth Democrats-only social spending bill will also make it to President Biden's desk. So what they're talking about with this 100-member bloc is the Progressive Caucus, led by Pramila Jayapal, which is 100 members. I'd say about 60% of them aren't actually capital P progressives, but just are in the block and want to be included. So when I hear,
that's generous.
yes, when I hear they are quietly mulling whether to mobilize the 100-member block, well, you've Jayapal, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ro Khanna, Mark Pocan, Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush. They have been loudly, not quietly, publicly saying, no, we're a no vote. We're a no vote. If we're not going to vote for the bipartisan infrastructure deal, which is basically a privatization scheme, if the 3.5 trillion doesn't come with it. And they've been pretty firm. And I've been noting this is progress, because typically they haven't been this firm as a block. Maybe one or two of them isolated would say, yeah, I'm a no vote. But together, about 10 to 12 of the progressives have said for weeks, we will not vote for this. So these kind of stories in Politico Gen don't just happen. They're kind of fed to Politico to push narratives. So somebody in the progressive caucus, or more than somebody, is pushing that we're quietly mulling whether to essentially hold firm. And the story goes on to say, progressive leaders see the coming House infrastructure vote as perhaps their most influential moment so far in Biden's Washington. They were largely sidelined when Pelosi negotiated her way out of a standoff with centrist Democrats last month, and many are eager to demonstrate that the power of an emboldened left can match that of moderates who've repeatedly flexed on leadership over the multi-trillion-dollar party line spending plan. Quote, even if there were Republicans that come along to help the Senate infrastructure deal pass the House this month, said Congressional Progressive Chair Pramila Jayapal, quote, we have more individuals, more Democrats who are going to vote it down without the reconciliation bill. Jayapal said more than half of the 96-member caucus has privately indicated they're willing to block the bipartisan Senate bill without their party line bill in tow, far more than the roughly 24 liberals who have gone public with their threat. Quote, I feel very confident in our numbers, and it is far beyond 20. Well, Jen, I don't know. Like, in war, do you say, hey, we have a huge arsenal of guns. We have a huge arsenal of guns. Or do you walk onto the battlefield with your fucking guns? And by the way, YouTube, I'm not talking about violence. I'm not encouraging. This is a figurative analogy, but I don't like it. I will shame the squad and Bernie and the rest of them if they fold again. I will. And I don't like this. I mean, there's more stuff in the article that's kind of like they're considering it. They're considering how far to go. You know, they're considering if it's good to go against Biden on one of his flagship programs. And I say, if not now, when? Because I disagreed, for example, with the COVID relief bill, the original one. You know, people like Jimmy were like, Bernie should block it and delay it. And now's the time to take a stand. I mean, I disagree with, I told them that privately. Like, I disagreed with that because, like, the sky was falling at that point, right? Like, millions of people were losing their jobs. Like, then people were losing, like, people needed extra food nutrition programs. People were being evicted then, before an eviction moratorium. So to me, you don't use like the working class as like collateral damage to take a stand as the sky is falling. Like, to me, yeah, it was very top heavy as, sexual favors for corporatists in terms of, what do they say, the biggest upward transfer of wealth. I agreed. I wish Bernie and the squad would have weeks before started fighting against it. But at that time, no, you don't like delay it by weeks to take a stand when people are going to suffer as a result. Now, yeah, I would block it because sure, there are great things in it, but at some point you need to break this cycle and you need to show the corrupt Democratic Party that you have muscle and you will use it and you will not let this 30-year watering down of legislation to bipartisan compromises that it's essentially written by lobbyists continue over and over and over again. And this language I'm hearing, and of course, Politico reached out to Jayapal for this story, to me seems like they are at least a favorable treatment of this story, is they will at least be willing to go significantly down on 3.5 trillion.
Yeah, I think that's really astute.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thinking of you saying that you would approach that differently this time around. Yeah, and just thinking about that is timing is important, and people seem to think that if you think something's a good idea at one point in time, that that's your opinion for every single instance of it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know. You're obviously right that this is a very planned article, and I just don't know if I'm as sure of you about what the conclusion of that is, about the purpose for this essential PR.
Well, I think a few things. One, it's September 2021. So Biden, Democratic Party leaders, and a lot of these people in the progressive caucus who are not progressives, their main focus is the 2022 midterms right now. Fundraising, not having to take tough votes that could be used against them, basically staying the course, and just, if they can get more through that they could run on, great. But Biden's team, I believe, will be saying we cannot risk looking ununified. We cannot risk disunity. They always love those words, unity, right now. So if we could get this bipartisan infrastructure deal, that would be another thing you could run on, a bipartisan deal, which, the country is just craving for bipartisanship, which is bullshit. And we could still, it might not be 3.5 trillion, but we could still get a lot of these things in. So basically, accept the privatized crumbs in the infrastructure deal, because the bipartisan deal is a privatization scheme. It's not 1 trillion in infrastructure. I think there's 500 billion in new money. It's a Band-Aid to the infrastructure needs we have. And they'll try to sell you on, you could still run on 1.7 trillion of this larger reconciliation deal. And that's what it's going to take to get like Manchin on this and that. I say, fuck that. I say no. And I say, if the Democrats want, and progressives, by the way, if they want to basically just clear the red carpet for President DeSantis, or God forbid, President Trump again, this is the way to do it. This is the way to do it, to continue watering down legislation, to continuing publicly saying you're going to fight and you're not going to vote for these things. And then at the end of the day, like clockwork, water the whole thing down, vote for the bipartisan deal first, because, well, we didn't want to, we do need the infrastructure, and we don't want to, in their words, throw the baby out with the bathwater. And, we do only have a 50-50 Senate. So Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, we have to cater to them. So, yeah, we're going to remove the climate proposals from the 3.5 trillion deal. Yeah, we'll probably have to toss legalizing undocumented immigrants. We'll have to probably, instead of Bernie's Medicare dental vision hearing, we'll just shore up Obamacare. I mean, I'm telling you, this is what would happen, because this is the Democratic Party. And you want to know something? I have a better idea for Pramila Jayapal, Ro Khanna, Bernie, AOC, and the rest of them. Don't quietly mull anything. Get your ass to West Virginia and Arizona and do what you said you were going to do. Bernie said if he was the president, he would be organizer in chief. Nothing's stopping you right now, Bernie. I mean, I have your mug, but I'm not going to kiss your ass. You should be in West Virginia. Yes, he just turned 80, so wear a mask if you can. But he should be in West Virginia. All of these people should be in West Virginia and Arizona. Why should Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, what are they, kings and queens? Why should they not be pressured? Why should you just cater to these corporate Neanderthals and not shame them on their doorstep. By the way, this didn't get a lot of attention. Former staffers for AOC, Corbin, Trent, Shoycott, they formed a super PAC, and they went on radio in West Virginia bashing Manchin at the time that he was trying to lower the checks. Say, no, we don't need to give $2,000 checks to Americans during the coronavirus. And Manchin started walking it back after he got pressured. So I don't know if these people aren't used to feeling pressure, actually having major rallies against them on their turf. Why don't you do that?
Yeah, I think that's obviously what they should do. That's the right answer. No question about it. As you were, hinting at before, you wouldn't necessarily want to show your playbook. Now they have, until the 27th.
I would show your playbook now. It's already the 19th. So
you would show the playbook. Okay. Well,
it's not the playbook. I would get your ass out and do it, because the playbook, we're seeing the playbook. It's the political article. They're quietly mulling.
Yeah.
They're afraid to go against Biden. Yeah, this is all the preemptive surrender.
Just a turn of phrase. So do I think, though, and this is really the only thing that matters, do I think that they will actually do it? No, I absolutely think they will not do it. And that makes me...
Do what, to be clear?
Do that. Go to West Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
Do I think they will take this action? That could really, really help. I don't think they will. And that's the problem. That's the issue here. So I'm not hopeful.
Because you want to know something. We could play it both ways, Jen. We have told people, like, we're with you. We understand your anger. We understand your frustration, but let's not just simplify everything to everyone being either all good or all bad and all sellouts, or, but if you're going to continue to publicly push, we're going to do X and we're going to bring the fight and we're going to do this, and then you fold again. Well, at a certain point, you have no credibility. At a certain point, people aren't going to be patient anymore and wait. We can't do it now. We can't do it on this one. We'll do it next time. No, I mean, the bottom line is we're still in a pandemic, and let's just separate all those. Let's just take everything out of that bill for a second. Literally, California is on fire. These hurricanes are coming faster and more furious every hurricane cycle. New York, New Jersey, Connecticut just got smashed with a hurricane. It's unusual up here. I mean, Sandy happened, but we don't typically have massive hurricanes leading to flooding and death on the Northeast. You have the droughts going on. You have whole community, Louisiana, Texas, still recovering from hurricanes. So just on its own, the climate proposal in this bill is not enough. To be clear, not enough. But to me, if it's going to be dramatically lowered, I'll tell you what's coming out first, and that's the climate proposals. If Joe Manchin has anything to do with it, The Intercept had a piece that showed that Joe Manchin has made between, I think, $4.5 million from the coal companies he's founded while being a senator. $4.5 million he's made from coal companies he founded as a senator. No wonder he's trying to strip all these bills of climate proposals. He's also made anywhere between $1 and $4 million in stock options. So this is a blatant, corrupt conflict of interest here. Kristen Sinema, I don't have a clue what happened to this person. Was a Green Party.
I would love to know what happened to her.
Yeah, she was a Green Party person, but all of a sudden, it's just disgusting. But, if Bernie Sanders, the squad, Pramila Jayapal, I don't have any wiggle. Me personally, I don't have any wiggle room. I don't think they should agree to $3 trillion. I don't think they should. It's $3.5 trillion. And you want to know something? Why don't you try something different? All these nice. I mean, I've even seen AOC, when asked about Joe Manchin in interviews, twist herself into a pretzel to not really just call him the corrupt douchebag that he is. But what are you waiting for? What is the squad waiting for? And I get it. The Pramila Jayapal, Ro Khanna, these people, they're different than right wingers. or they're different than the Tea Party because they actually have some virtuous qualities where, well, we don't want to turn down all, we'd rather something for the people than nothing, right? So if it gets watered down from 3.5 trillion, let's say to 1.7, if there's still things in it, they don't, they want some good things for the people. And they view it as, well, we don't have control. We don't have the White House. We don't have majorities. So we would be doing a disservice to just say no to all of it. I get that thinking, but you're actually doing a disservice to the people by continuing to take that, because this cycle will continue over and over and over and over again until we're all dead. If you keep saying, well, yeah, we didn't get everything we want, but you have to compromise in DC and there's still good things in there. Yeah, but those good things are Band-Aids for a major gunshot wound, right? And at a certain point, if you have the numbers, because from what we've seen, they do have the numbers to block this. I mean, sure. I mean, basically, they would need, like, with the numbers Jayapal has said, they would need at least 20 Republicans to vote for the bipartisan infrastructure deal in the House to defeat if there's like 19 to 20 progressives who vote no. According to Jayapal, she's been, whether it's maybe it's bluffing, saying we have a lot more than 17, because the Intercept and the Daily Poster and the American Prospect reported they reached out to every House member and they found that 17 responded to them that they would vote no. Well, technically, could you get 18 Republicans to vote yes? Yes. So that's why you need a lot more. And you want to know what helps your effort? Instead of quietly mulling and basically being, quiet little, let's try and negotiate behind the scenes, get out in front of it. Go to West Virginia and say, hey, Joe Manchin, you say this is too much? You say this is going to add to the debt? Why don't you come talk to the people here who are living paycheck to paycheck? Why don't you come talk to the people here who are drinking coal water? Why don't you come talk to the people here who literally can't find work? I mean, I interviewed people on the ground there who have a master's degree, can't get a job other than McDonald's in West Virginia. Why don't you come talk to the people here who literally their whole community is contaminated by coal, mountaintop, and dangerous removal? The list goes on and on and on. West Virginia is one of the poorest states in the country. And you want to talk about, oh, we need to be responsible and fiscal this and fiscal that. Well, you supported Trump's tax deal. You didn't care about fiscal this. If you're not going to publicly pressure and shame the very impediments to success, then what are you doing? What are you doing? And that goes both ways. I've said, pressure the squad, protest outside their offices, DC, whatever. I mean, they all should be pressured. But I just think right now you're starting. I mean, I read political playbooks, so you don't have to. And you're starting to see this language, Jen, of like, they're quietly mulling. How far do they want to go in fighting this and playing hardball? And that is a very bad sign. And to me,
that's the part that I was saying. I don't know how I interpret that line, like the quietly mulling. Like, is that hint? What do they intend that to say? And I can't decide.
Well, look at what they've said publicly versus that. What they've said publicly. They've said publicly is we are voting no if we don't have that 3.5 trillion. They have not allowed for any wiggle room for it to go lower than 3.5 trillion. So I know Bernie was on a show this morning. I don't have the clip yet, but Bernie has been public saying no below 3.5 trillion. So when you start seeing stories about, well, they're actually quietly mulling basically how far to go, whether to compromise, I take that as they are preemptively agreeing to water this thing down.
Right. I agree with that, but they're putting it out at the same time with Jayapal's quotes of definitely having enough, etc. So it puts out, I think, like a confusing PR message. I don't know. I think in the end, your assessment's probably right. I don't know what they intend to do with that. Like, who exactly are they trying to sway the most with that?
Well, I think, honestly, they are probably thinking in their mind, political reality. We're not getting 3.5 trillion because King Manchin runs the show here. So I think they are thinking, well, if we are at least reasonable and we offer to compromise from the 3.5 trillion, then we're in a better position to get more. I think that's what they're thinking. If we aren't hard and fast and say 3.5 trillion or nothing, then we're in a better negotiating. We put Biden in a better negotiating position with Manchin, not really realizing Biden's probably closer to Manchin on this than you guys anyway. Like,
Sure.
this is not Biden's bill. The media will make it seem like this is Biden's hallmark accomplishment. Most of the things in here, Bernie pushed through for it to even be in the bill. So the media will give Biden credit, but that's not reality. These are mostly Bernie Sanders policies. So,
but obviously, like what I like, also like navigating is they do this and could do this just in the smoke-filled back room. So doing it publicly and worded this way specifically, I find really interesting.
right. But honestly, the best political strategy, which they didn't do with force to vote, they didn't do with other things, is to get the people behind you. I think a lot more of these people online saying, oh, it's incremental, oh, I don't care, might change their tune if they see Bernie, the squad, this actually out there fighting.
Yeah.
Why do you think Trump was so successful? Why do you think Trump, if not for a pandemic, would have, I mean, by the numbers, he would have beaten Biden if not for totally mismanaging? It didn't really matter what he was saying or what his principles were. He was shown to be a fighter. He was fighting, right? He was out there fighting constantly. And that speaks to people who feel like, oh, this person's fighting for me. I don't need to read the fine print of what he's saying. When in reality, if these people were fighting, they actually have substance underneath the hood in opposite to Trump.
And progressives feel so leaderless right now that the ones who are already most visible doing something like that very visibly would be so motivating for so many. I think it would wake a lot of people back up from some nihilism, from some hopelessness. I think it could kickstart a lot of different things, kind of, again, raising morale. And in addition to having a direct benefit on this bill.
Right. And the last thing, because I need to go to Long Island for my birthday festivities. And by the way, if you can't sign as a member, you could very well leave a birthday gift in our GoFundMe. I'm not beyond begging.
That would not go to Jordan. That would go to the company, but it would be in honor of Jordan's birthday.
Yes, to be clear, GoFundMe or sign up as a member. But we need to gain some revenue, lickety split. But I will say this, Bernie, I know you're watching. AOC, I know you're watching. By the way, did you see that story that the person who made the tax the rich dress for AOC is a major tax dodger?
Yeah, she's dating a Brofman, which the aunt is the aunts of the guy are in the NXIVM. They funded the NXIVM sex cult. Keith Raniere, etc. The chick from the Superman show, all that. And so he's like worth $100 million. And so an AOC saying that she's an immigrant, like she's from Toronto. I just find that very funny. In the end, I think it has a neutral effect. I said my thoughts on that in a previous video, but the added knowledge of this story that AOC wove about who designed this dress is really something.
Yeah. But the bottom line, I'll say, listen, I have told the audience, don't fall into this. Everybody's a fraud. Everybody's a sellout. Everyone's a coward, blah, 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 blah. And I do believe that. But I do also believe in you will be shamed and criticized if you continue to fold like cheap tents. So I'm not going to defend this. You better fight like you said you're going to fight. You have the opportunity right now. To me, for people to understand, it's not only about this particular bill. It's about setting a tone. Jen always talks about a pattern interrupt. It's about changing the pattern and saying, oh, no, corporatists, yeah, you could try to rig the primaries, all that, but you're not going to run progressives over in governance. and we will block your neoliberal, corrupt, lobbyist written legislation, and we will set the agenda as progressives because we have the numbers. That needs to happen. And I don't care. I don't care if it tanks the bill. I think there's good things in the bill, but I don't think the stakes are like they were at the coronavirus bailout, where millions of people were losing their jobs. People were already being evicted because there was no eviction protections. Like, we needed to stop the bleeding then. And I don't think that was the time to take the stand and use workers as collateral damage. But if this thing's going to get watered down from 3.5 trillion to, to me, probably closer to 2 to 2.2, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to accept it's better than nothing, Jordan, and blah, 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 blah. We could get those things in a later bill, and Trump. Fuck that. You have control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. Progressives have the numbers right now, it seems, to block this. So enough. Bernie, AOC, the squad, get out there, get to West Virginia, get to Arizona. Jen, anything else before we go?
No, I will definitely talk more about this. Jordan won't be going live tomorrow because he'll be the birthday boy. I most likely will be, and we will let you know if there's going to be an upcoming infield trip. It depends. Jordan's going to get his foot x-rayed. But most importantly, once again, Jordan's turning 35 tomorrow. So Colin, if you can put up the birthday image, happy birthday, Jordan. Everybody go on Twitter and tell him happy birthday. And if you're not a member, in honor of Jordan's birthday, go to statuscoup.com/join. You'll get access to Ask Me Anything Zoom calls with Jordan and myself and other fun guests who pop in. And you'll get behind the scenes video diaries where we reveal behind the scenes, thoughts and feelings and whatever if we're out in the field, and just extra bonus content, access to our members only Discord, etc. Only $5 a month, and you'll be funding our in-field and investigative reporting.
Real quick, because Colin, did you put the super chats in the chat? If you didn't,
yeah, super chats.
Because I think I saw a couple, and if we missed
them,
them,
there were about 4 or 5.
Yeah, I lost them. I don't know if you have them, Colin.
Okay.
Colin, well, we read the $50 one. No, I don't know if we read this full thing. D-Bow, the Black Panthers, $50. I appreciate all your hard work, guys. Thank you. Kush Renata, $5. Is it possible the reason why people are so susceptible to further left thinking is because all the time the rug was pulled from under them by the DNC? It's not possible.
First of all,
yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, first of all, part of it isn't further left thinking. Part of it is thinking that's kind of folks who've been following like influencers of those who were in the progressive left or whatever, but whose ideals maybe were never aligned with that except for the Bernie movement. And so some more of those like right libertarian ideas, really libertarians in the United States are on the right. It's just how it is. People have been like yelling at me that they can be different, but we can debate that later. But it's, I think part of it is that people, Bernie brought together a lot of people who maybe had come from different political ideologies. I've met many people, even some who worked on Bernie's campaign that came from the right. So people are kind of falling into many different factions. And, I'm not much for reading theory, but going back historically, like, this happens and all that. We can also do a show on that because that would be really interesting. But as far as the further left thinking, like people falling into, becoming tankies or whatever, I think like having the corruption in the Democratic Party, people getting out there for the first time or whatever, and seeing what's going on across the country. Like maybe they started going to marches and they never had before. They listened to Bernie talk about what was wrong, and you can get radicalized. I'm not using radicalized in necessarily a bad way, but if you're already on the left, like the more you learn, potentially the more left you could go. And so, yeah, all that is to say, yes, I do think people have partially gone in one of those directions, or in some cases, a split or a combination of those directions because of what the Democratic Party has done to all of us and did to Bernie. And whether they'll admit it these days or not, a lot of people thought of Bernie as a hero, and he was the one who had opened their eyes, and the movement just it brought policy to the forefront, and that is, it can feel like so rejecting, and so people become kind of nihilistic over all of it, like burn it all down style.
Right. But one thing with Bernie, maybe people didn't listen. He said all along, it's not the top line, folks. It's the ground up. It wasn't a bumper sticker. It's true. So just because, I mean, you could hate the DNC. I sure do. But change actually does come from the bottom throughout history. So we shouldn't just kind of say, oh, well, Bernie and the squad and these people aren't doing what we want, so we're just going to check out. Fuck electoral politics. Fuck everybody. No. Like, look at what's going on. You're having worker strikes for the first time in 20 years. Union drives for the first time in 20 years. You don't have to vote for the Democrats or the Democratic Party, but if there's a candidate who happens to be good in your community who could only run as a Democrat, really, because of ballot access and things like that, you're just going to shun that candidate because they're running as a Democrat. That was a lot of the mentality with Nina, which I thought was wrong. She has a great track record. Okay, she didn't come to the march. Should we put her up at the stake? I mean, come on, guys. Real quick, because I got to go. Colin Radix, $4.99. Jayapal is the chair of the CPC, Congressional Progressive Caucus. Omar is the whip. There are almost 100 members. They have the means to push for progressive policy, and they haven't. So yes and no. They have 100 members, but that's really just on paper. I think a lot of those are from the no labels group, which is a right-wing front group pretending to be bipartisan. A lot of the other members are kind of centrist, i.e. right-wing Democrats. So technically they have 100 members in there, but those aren't 100 like hardcore progressives. But I think your point stands. Right now they have the numbers to block this. They have the numbers to block this. And if they lose the numbers to block this, the squad, Bernie, Jayapal, and the rest of them should still say no. Set the tone and put down your marker. And I think, like we said, get out of Washington and start pressuring and shaming and it's not just Manchin and Sinema, by the way, there are others. Shame, pressure, organize the troops, because the troops will come out if they see you fighting. Duly noted, $20. We're dealing with a Democratic Party DCC that clearly, very sorry. The rest,
it got cut off.
Yeah, the rest of your thing got cut off.
Sorry.
If you want to email us, info@statuscoup.com, what you actually said, because it got cut off. We'll read it next time. I'm sorry, but I got to go for my birthday. Thank you for watching. Please, if you can, sign up as a member, statuscoup.com/join, statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5. If you're already a member, GoFundMe is open for my birthday. It will not be coming personally to me. It will be coming to the company, but I can't think of a better birthday gift than actually getting some money in so we could go out and report. So the GoFundMe link, I'll put it in one more time in the super chat. Thank you for watching on this impromptu Sunday. And any parting words, Jen?
I just want to remind folks that you could also sponsor memberships. So if you have the means, you could email us at info@statuscoup.com, and you could say, I want to sponsor 5 memberships for, those who can't afford it. And I can help you set that up. info@statuscoup.com. And definitely send Jordan tons of happy birthday messages. Again, his birthday's tomorrow. It's going to be 35.
And by the way,
in his honor, statuscoup.com/join. Yes.
Somebody DM me, happy birthday, freak. I don't want to hear those messages. Whoever the fuck that lunatic is. Happy birthday, freak. Who does that? So thank you very much.
That's mean.
Statuscoup.com/join. Thank you, Colin. And Jen will probably see you tomorrow. I'll be back the next day. Peace out.
Bye, guys.